now our next guest is going to help us elevate our food conversations. Max Miller is a YouTuber and author of the new book, Tasting History. Explore the past throughout 4,000 years of recipes. Max joins me now. What a great idea for a book.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to talk about it. So tell us about the book and your YouTube channel.
So the book, as it says, is 4,000 years of history of recipes. So we have recipes going all the way back to ancient Babylon. Ancient Rome is in there.
Babylonian
medieval
recipes.
Yeah, and so I take those old recipes, which sometimes are very hard to figure out what they're actually talking about. I make a modern version that you can make at home, and then it also comes with a history lesson. And basically that's what the show is too.
That is what I love about this. I love history. I love reading and learning where these things came from. How do you translate this? I mean, this seems, like a language we no longer use.
It's cuneiform. I don't. For that, I reached out to someone at Harvard who is an Assyriologist who does know these languages and some of the context behind them, and he helped me with translations. Part of the problem is some of those words don't have translations that we know. So there's a lot of guesswork, but that's part of the fun.
I think this is, and there's also some beautiful artwork in here that reflective of the time in which the recipe corresponds, which I think is so fun. So let's talk about some of these. First of all, tiger nut cake. That got our attention. What is this?
Yeah, so this is from ancient Egypt, and basically it is a cake, to use that word, of tiger nuts and honey that is compressed into a cone. And the recipe is actually not really a written recipe, it's pictures that were on the tomb of Rekhmire, who was a vizier. So you can see the process, and so I took that and did my best to recreate what we can see in those pictures.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone's like, what is this? Oh, it's an Egyptian cake. It's thousands of years old. That's cool. No big deal.
Now I just need a tomb so I can have pictures of somebody making Lunchables or something on my tomb.
1,000%. We'll get to Lunchables in a second. All right. Parmesan ice cream?
Yes. So sounds a little weird, but it is fantastic. It's an 18th century recipe when ice cream was becoming really popular.
Yes.
And they had so many flavors. They really put us to shame. They had so many flavors, and some were strawberry and vanilla.
Right.
But then they had Parmesan cheese, and some would have just weird flavors, spinach and artichoke and whatnot. So it's kind of.
I have a pistachio, but.
Exactly. Well, and it's kind of coming back, though. There is this.
Yeah, Van Llewellyn makes macaroni and cheese ice cream. Hey,
so
do what you do.
250 years old, but they're bringing it back.
I love that. I think that's fascinating, and it's also interesting to learn about the history of ice cream, which is here as well. Let's talk about lasagna. In my family, we love a lasagna.
You love a modern lasagna.
Yeah, but I had no idea where it came from.
Yeah, so this recipe is from medieval Europe, and it's basically layers of pasta with cheese, like a modern lasagna. But instead of, they didn't have tomatoes at the time, so instead it's flavored with things like cinnamon and nutmeg and clove. It's the flavors that you would associate with a pumpkin pie, but it's in lasagna, and it's very, very different, but actually quite good. But you can't think of it as a modern day lasagna.
I am making that this weekend. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Oh, that sounds so unique. And who knew that there was no tomatoes? That doesn't make me upset at all, but it's good to know. Cantons. Am I saying that right? Cantons?
Cantons. They are basically it's French duckling. So this recipe was actually served at the wedding of the Marquis de Lafayette, who was the Frenchman who helped us during the American Revolution.
Okay.
And it comes from a time of just opulence in the French court. The recipe is from the period of Louis XV, Versailles, those kinds of things. So this would have been served alongside thousands of other dishes, and the king would have taken a bite of a few and then just everything else would have gone to the other people around, and it was just a period of opulence. And it's basically an early form of duck à l'orange, which was very popular in the 60s. It's duck with orange sauce. It's wonderful.
Interesting. Okay, semlor.
The semlor. So these are buns that are filled with an almond filling, and a little bit of whipped cream is now how they're modernly done. But this 18th century recipe, it's done in hot milk. It's served in hot milk. And sometimes it's actually still served that way. They're from Sweden, and there's a wonderful story, the veracity of which is in question, that these killed a Swedish king, Adolf Fredrik. He ate so many of these and drank several bottles of champagne.
That he died in one night?
He died that night. Sad, but what a wonderful way to go.
True, and also a story in moderation. We have only a minute left, but I want to ask you about the last item we were discussing today, hummus.
Hummus. So we all think that we know hummus, and we do. It's chickpeas mashed up into a spread. But this recipe comes from 14th century Egypt, and it is so much more complicated and complex than anything we would have today. It has lots of nuts and herbs and dozens of spices and olives in it, and it's just so much better than modern day hummus.
I am here for that.
It's a lot of work, though.
So many things, there are quesadillas, tamales, all from all over the world. I absolutely treasure your book because I think it's so lovely to find out the history of what we're eating and go back to that original form and try something new and different. So, Max, we were so grateful that you came on today, and thank you so much. And I will let you know how my lasagna turns out.
Please do.
I'm
excited.